pull that closer to me. Oh, yeah. Great, thank you. Good evening. So good to see everyone. So as Gareth said, we're going to do a little meditation as a follow-up on our discussion last week. So as we do that, let's notice I don't quite know how to say this because this is all what happens in meditation. It's very difficult to describe and put into words, but if meditation is sort of walking up to the top of a hill, I want to encourage you that once you get there, don't fail to look down at the view. And people get kind of distracted by, wow, I'm in this amazing place. And yes, that's great. And now that you're there, it can be very helpful to look from that point down into your life and yourself and your inner processes. So let's just kind of play with that possibility tonight as we go through the meditation. So, yeah, getting comfortable, attending to your posture, which I always like to stress is a very important part of meditation. And just notice your spine. And is there anything you need to do to adjust your seated posture so that your spine is in a comfortably erect position, so that the prana, the Shakti can move through the spine and move up through the chakras and reach up into the higher chakras and activate them. So there are all kinds of blocks that interfere with that. And some of them are tightness or holding, or called granthis or knots that need to be relaxed or unraveled. But we can assist that process by positioning in our spine in a sort of anatomically optimal alignment. And when you do that, you'll know you're doing it because you'll feel a little extra boost of awareness or energy or vitality or alertness. And it's very pleasant. So with that little prologue and promo for good posture, let's close our eyes and bring our attention to the inner space. Directing your attention internally. So it's always helpful to begin that process by scanning your body to see if there are any areas that are tight or contracted, uncomfortable, tense. And when you find those areas, just breathe into them. Let the breath go to where they are. And perhaps the tension will melt away. Maybe they're tight because they're starving for energy nurturance. So bring that breath, that pranic inflow into that area. And now check in with your breath. Just bringing your awareness to the breath. See if you can allow the breath allow it to do what it wants to. And notice what that is that it wants to do. If it seems to be doing something that's really disruptive to your inner stability and awareness, then you might want to encourage it to slow down or move into a more rhythmic flow. But those things will probably happen if you kind of get out of the way and allow it. Too much tampering with it and trying to fix it can really throw it off. Now we're going to go back to a familiar process of for most of you, of following the breath up the spine. So that means bringing your attention to the lower tip of the spine. And as you inhale, let your attention sweep gradually up the spine in tandem with the breath, so that your focus of attention reaches the crown of the head when the inhalation is complete. And then on exhalation, follow back down. Again, synchronizing the sweep of your attention with the breath so that you get back down to the tailbone at the end of exhalation. Inhaling up and exhaling down. Not to misinterpret that shortcut version of the description. We don't actually inhale up exactly or exhale down exactly, but your attention moves up and down, coordinated with the breath. This is a very helpful practice in and of itself. Trains the mind to be focused. It also activates, increasingly activates sushumna. And that flow wears away like the river wears the rocks into rounded shapes. It wears away some of those knots along the spine. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And as you practice these techniques, keeping your attention focused on the flow of the breath and the movement up and down the spine, still make room for another level of awareness, which is, how do I feel different now as I'm doing this? What changes inside me? And if you haven't practiced this very much, you might say, well, nothing much changed. But if you've practiced it for a while, you will probably notice that, yes, there's quite a different feeling, different state of being that ensues as I do this. You might notice some heat generated. This keeping focus on the breath is a very intense tapas. Tapas meaning containment of the attention, focus, containment. Not allowing the attention just wander around, but keeping it focused. Is known to generate heat, and tapas actually has that connotation. The word has the connotation of heat. So keeping our attention on the practice, the flow of the breath up, the movement of attention up the spine and back down. And at the same time, stepping back a bit and noticing not just that, but seeing the vast inner space that this is happening in. Happening inside me. And as I do it, things begin to change inside of me. No particular words or descriptive phases are necessary. Just be with the feeling. You might find that it is a pleasant feeling, pleasurable feeling. So it's perfectly natural to enjoy that. And can I notice that, enjoy that, and still follow the breath up, follow the breath down. If you've practiced it before and want to use the sound, so and hum. So on inhalation, hum on exhalation. To magnify, accentuate the effects, you can do that. So as you continue this process, I'm going to ask you to allow a question to hang in the air somewhere inside there, inside of yourself. Who am I when I'm doing this? Who am I at this moment as I am doing this practice? How am I different from the person who walks in the world? How am I different from my ordinary self? If my ordinary self is fearful, do I feel fear now as this person who's doing this practice? If I'm given to negative thoughts, are those negative thoughts present now as I do this practice? And staying with the focus on the breath, staying with sweeping up the spine and back down. I'm looking at that process. I'm focusing on that process. But I'm noticing the context of that process, the quality of beingness that I have as I do it. If your mind drifts away from the practice, you can bring it back. But before you do, notice what shifts when my mind drifts away. How do I revert to? What thoughts begin to enter my awareness that weren't there when I was doing the practice? So when your mind drifts away, that becomes part of the experiment. Collect the data and hop back on, resume the process. If I am habituated to self-criticism, self-condemnation. Does that continue when I'm doing this practice? What can I see from the vantage point of this consciousness? And still following the breath. And if your attention wanders, notice who you are, how that changes when your attention wanders. Stretching a little bit to be more aware. While holding the focus on the process. And just because I'm riding the breath up and riding the breath down, riding so on, doesn't mean I can't look out the window. Territory I'm passing through. But if I lose my focus, I fall off the train. And that's also a part of the experiment. Now slowly bringing your attention, letting your attention float down to the heart center. And settle in there. And notice what that feels like. How is it being in this different space, the heart center, without the breath? Wow. This is a step toward emerging from the meditation. So from the heart center, we will expand our awareness outward to the hands, the arms, the right, the left. Expand our awareness upward toward the head, down toward the feet, but staying anchored, centered at the heart, not giving up that focus, just expanding outward from it. And then as we do that, you can begin to slightly move your fingers, your toes, a little bit, your head. And when you're ready, you can bring your palms to cover your eyes. Let your eyes enjoy that darkness for a few moments. And then you can open your eyes and look at the palms as they float down towards your lap. Oh, and then transitioning from that to the world around you when you're ready, but slowly, gently. It's not in a hurry. And after you've taken a moment to land, so to speak, it'd be great if you're willing to share some of what you experienced, learned, etc. If you'd like to speak, you just unmute yourself and say your name and then share with us what you have to say. I was pushing you a little bit tonight. Pushing to kind of expand the process a bit. And we will, I think we've sort of started an exploration that will continue for another week or so, but we'd all be interested to know what you experienced, how that was for you, what you learned, what you found difficult, what you found easy. If you'd like to speak, just unmute yourself and speak up.
I guess it's Lisa.
Lisa, did you want to? Oh, you're, okay, we're trying to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm just grateful for the gentle invitation to just the reminder of everything is everything. It's all good. It's all part of the experiment. And just to be led through that the way you did, I just appreciate that reminder. So thank you.
Great. Yes, there's no pressure. It's not like someone's going to hit you over the head with a stick and say, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. No, it's all a discovery. It's a process of discovery. And discovery is an adventure and can become very intriguing and fascinating. So allow it to be that. Don't make it an arduous task, or you won't do it. Thank you, Lisa, for those comments.
This is Karen. Thank you.
Karen.
So I have no idea what is supposed to be going on in there when we do this, but what was going on was sort of this, like, I felt like this sort of riding the fence between like dream time and now time, and noticing how I tinker with things and how I manipulate and want to fix this and change that. And it was really confusing. There were quite a few times of like, am I doing this right? Or how is this supposed to be? But it was just sort of this weaving in and out of almost a dream, but not. I don't know. But I don't know what we're supposed to be doing in there.
Well, what was supposed to happen was exactly what happened. Because you were noticing things, how you tinker with this and tinker with that. That's gold, right? I mean, that's very, very valuable.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of trouble doing that because the ego intervenes and the ego says, no, that's not true. Or, I don't do that kind of thing. Or I don't want to hear about that because that would upset the way I think about myself. And so our access to those little discoveries that we were talking about last week, our access to those is blocked. But when you move into that space, suddenly it unblocks and you can see things that you wouldn't normally see. And that's so valuable because other people can see it, we can't see it. You know, so we walk around pretending that we're not this, pretending we're not that. And that really undercuts our joy of living and our authenticity as a person. But it's sort of invisible, not accessible. And there it became accessible. So that was exactly what was supposed to happen. Though whatever happened for everybody is exactly what was supposed to happen because it's all a journey. And Karen's been on this journey a while, so she was bumping into that very valuable experience. And other people may have gone down another little sidetrack. Well, that's also interesting. And then you come back and say, well, that was kind of interesting, but I think I want to go back and see what else might happen. So, yeah, this is, it's a discovery. You know, meditation is an exploration, it's discovery. And what we discover are all kinds of things about ourselves. And in that particular state, it's not a disaster that I tinker with things. It's actually, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but my experience is, well, it's actually sort of entertaining. Oh, really? I do that? Wow. I had no idea I did that. That's bizarre.
It was, you nailed it. Very entertaining.
Why did I do that?
Why did I nerve her this way? Why did I change that? Why did I not want this? Yeah.
It's all kind of amusing. Human nature is amusing. You know? So great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
We all enter the process thinking, oh, can I do this right? And, you know, it's not really about that. It's can I be with what emerges and what pops up? That's all. That's all I have to do. It's, we're not trained for things to be that easy. You know, it should be more difficult than that. but actually, it's just kind of relaxing and letting things pop up and then saying, wow, that's interesting. I wonder what else is there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Who else wants to share some?
Hi, I'm Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry. Hi.
I always have this shoulder little problem. But in this meditation here, the intent of the hurt kept on increasing, and I was trying to not think about it, but it just sort of nagged me the whole way through.
Hmm.
And
yeah. Okay. So that's when you might try bringing attention to it. Just not regard it as something that's causing trouble and interfering, but bring your attention to it like, okay, you're the main event right now. Wow. What do you need? How about some breath energy? How about some light just thrown on you? You know, we're all here to give you attention and see what happens. Because when we try to like, go away, shut up, go away, leave me alone, it just becomes more, nags you more, you know. Those of us who've raised children know all about that. You just have to put them on your lap and say, okay, here I am, you got my full attention, what do you want? You know, but that's also part of human nature. Yeah, try that. It'll be an interesting experiment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, a few more minutes. Who would like to share?
So I have a, oops, go ahead.
Go for it.
Go ahead. Are you sure, David? Okay. So I had an interesting experience with the question, who am I in this place? Who am I in this practice? As you asked that question and I let it sink in,
Mm-hmm.
it was a deepening of the practice, right? Like I felt this deepening of, I don't even know what was there, but it was a deepening, and then all of a sudden it was there, and then it wasn't there. Maybe because I had expanded into all of it. I don't know, but I loved the question because it was top of mind, and then I was able to let it go. But I think it deepened the meditation. So it was a powerful question.
Great. Yeah, I'm. My intention was to bring into focus how much who we are changes when we go into this state of meditation, or these different states within meditation.
Yeah.
You know, it changes. We're a different person, and then we're a different person from that. And what is the nature of that change, and what are its implications and uses, and how can we follow the thread of that and discover other things? And, you know, it's just yes, it is a deepening. And
for me, there was an awareness, because I'm in my mind so much. There was an awareness of an embodiment. It was like, oh, this is nice, right? Feeling into something else other than this.
Yeah, and we think that only the mind can investigate, but there are other versions of consciousness that can investigate places where the mind can't go. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
David.
I was actually going to comment on that as well. For me, that was particularly useful, paired with enjoying the view you were talking about.
Yeah.
Kind of observing, and I feel like I do that sometimes in meditation, and it's hasn't specifically been as intentional as you had it be.
Mm-hmm.
When you had us noticing who we are, who am I being now compared to who I was being before the meditation, I found that really useful. I'm not sure what words to use for that other than it gave me some perspective, and I think also some clarity and awareness of how maybe to bring that me that was having, you know, that level of consciousness and awareness in the meditation, to bring that into the me I was before the meditation, like how to connect that thread rather than the before and the after. And for me, I've been also experimenting with the palm thing, like seeing how long I can keep that frame of mind, that awareness, that consciousness, how far I can bring that into my normal waking consciousness before it just becomes like a memory or something.
Right. Yeah, those are all great explorations, great experiments. You know, there's a vast range of possibilities implicit in that. You know, that what are those different ways of being that we experience there, and how can we use them in other ways, and how can we expand our universe of consciousness when we have been socialized, unfortunately, to hold a very narrow range of awareness, very, very narrow. You know, that should be kept out, that should be kept out, that should be kept out, that should be kept out. And it's sort of cramped in there, you know, and not very much fun. So we need to let all these other dimensions come back in and celebrate them and enjoy them and explore them and become more fully human, which is our birthright, to be fully human and fully aware. And then life is not bleak anymore. It's full of fascinating discoveries and colors and sounds and everything. So, yeah, thank you for those comments.
Hi. When we closed our eyes, my thoughts are that we close our eyes to tone down stimulus and not to be active with thought, but just the opposite happened. They were like hornets and bees of thoughts, just this and this and this, and I found myself thinking more with my eyes closed. So a soft glance or opening my eyes and seeing you and David and Mark next to me, that helped because there was a grounding in my visually seeing the fireplace, the rug, the screen. And as I looked to the right out the window, you said, it's okay to look out the window. So that was kind of fun, but I couldn't drop in. And so then I remembered, what I remembered is what I called Ujjayi breath, where I made the sound of the ocean in and out. And that sound got me, waves coming in, tide coming in, and that's what got me to drop down.
Good, good, good. Yeah, that's what all the techniques of yoga and Tantra are for. You know, they're very important and useful. And we learn them in a class and then we forget about them. But then, you know, that's great that you remembered that and you could use that, because the yogis discovered all these things. Like, yes, bring the attention in to Ujjayi. Perfect. Yeah. Good. Well, I guess we're out of time. Well, thank you all for being here. And next week we will. No, not next week. Okay, not next week. Week after next.
Yes. Next week we will not be offering a Zoom session, so it will be the following week. So next week is May 30th. We won't have a session then, but on June 6th, we will come back and come back to our normal practice, 7:30 Sunday evening. And that will be a satsang for that practice. So look for the invitation. But just to be clear, there is no offering next week. So, okay. I want to say thank you to everyone who has. So we've been doing this session for over a year, almost a year and a couple months now. And we appreciate all the help that we receive in putting this together, from Arabella, who hosts and records, and David, who takes those recordings and posts them on our YouTube channel, and all of you to keep showing up. And then I want to extend a gratitude and thank you to all those folks that have supported us financially through this year with donations to allow us to continue to do this.
Yeah, thank you.
So we appreciate that. And if you want to unmute and say goodnight, we will do that together, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. See
Thank
you
you.
in
Good evening.
2 weeks.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good
Bye,
night.
Arabella.